I went to the animal fair, the birds and the bees were there. The big baboon by the light of the moon was combing his auburn hair. The monkey fell out of the bunk and slid down the elephant's trunk. The elephant sneezed and fell on his knees, but what became of the monkey? Hello! Hi! Welcome once again to M5's English language learning program, Let's Speak English. I'm Gav Duncan and I'm here on your TV to help you learn English. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Yes? Good. And are you ready for today's lesson? Yes? Good. Okay, well, let's learn English together. Happy New Year! Yes, that's right, people. It's 2018. Yes. I know that you know. It's just not possible that you didn't notice the end of the year. But, well, this is the first time we've met since last week. And yesterday was the 31st of December. And we all know what that means, don't we? Of course we do. The 31st of December is New Year's Eve. And do you all remember what Eve means? Yes, that's right. Just as we know that the 24th of December is Christmas Eve in the UK, the 31st of December is New Year's Eve. Eve means the day before a religious festival or some other occasion. So, although we might think that Eve is just a shortened version of evening, in actual fact, it's normally used to refer to talk about, to indicate, to represent the day before or the night before a religious festival or something like that. So, yesterday, as I'm sure you all remember, was New Year's Eve. And what happens on New Year's Eve? What do people normally do? What do people traditionally do? Yes, that's right. Traditionally, usually, normally, people have a big party to celebrate the end of one year and the start of the new year. So, is that what you did? Did you go to a party last night? Did your friends invite you to their house? Did you go to a house party? Or perhaps you didn't go to a house party. Maybe you went to a restaurant or a club or a bar where you had a special meal, some special drinks, and then you had a bit of a dance. Think about times when people go out in large groups to restaurants and bars. Okay, there are a few occasions which come to mind. A birthday, for example. Perhaps you and your family or you and your friends go out when it's your birthday. And what about a company dinner? Perhaps the company you work for organizes dinners for the whole department every now and then. Okay, these are two possibilities, but the time when most people decide that they're going to go out, perhaps in a large group, perhaps just all the family together, that time is Christmas and New Year. So that's why it's such an important time for bar owners, restaurant managers, and club owners. This is the one time of the year when they can have a full restaurant or bar or club almost every day. So, what happens? Well, for one thing, because there are so many people going out, it makes it harder for people to get a table in a restaurant, for example. This is the time of year when you have to book a table. If you don't book a table, then it's very possible that you won't be able to have a meal in the restaurant. And because it's the Christmas and New Year season, all the other restaurants will also be full of people. All the good restaurants will be fully booked. And we all know what that means, don't we? Yes, that means that you and your family or you and your friends will spend all evening wandering about town trying to find somewhere to sit down and have a meal. Not a very good evening. So, we all know what happens at this time of the year. Everyone wants to eat out. Everyone wants to go to the pub and everyone wants to go clubbing. So, we come back to the verb to compete. The whole thing becomes a competition for your money. All of these places want you to come and spend your time, but mainly spend your money at their place. Now, there are a couple of verbs which we use with those two nouns in English. The first verb we can see is the verb to spend. When we usually think of the verb to spend, then normally we're thinking of the idea of giving money for something. I spent £3,000 on a new stereo for my car, for example. Hollywood stars spend lots of money on plastic surgery and stuff like that. But a second meaning of the verb to spend is the idea of passing time, doing something or passing time somewhere. I spent the weekend in Miskolc. He spent his summers in Siberia. Now, that's all very well, but when people spend money and when they spend time doing things, some people think that they're being silly or stupid. Like most things, these things are very subjective. You might think that your new shoes, which cost you £1,224, are fantastic. But your mum and dad might not agree. Your sister might think that spending several hours a day watching Brazilian soap operas is a good way to spend her time. But again, her parents might not agree. And this is where we can think of the other verb we often use with these two nouns, the verb to waste. Now, when we think of the verb to waste, we think of people using something carelessly, with no point. When people waste things, they misuse them. And that's why this verb works so well with these two nouns. It's very easy to spend money, and if you're spending money stupidly, buying chewing gum for £300 a pack, then you're wasting money. You're misusing your money. You're spending carelessly without thinking. There's no point in spending £300 on chewing gum. It's a waste of money. And at the same time, we can do the same thing with time. If instead of finishing the report that the boss wants on her desk by lunchtime, we spend our time playing computer games on the internet, then what are we doing? Yes, that's right. We're spending our time stupidly, carelessly. We're not paying attention to what we're doing with our time. We're wasting time. So, in the same way, we can look at what someone is doing with their money and time and say, in our subjective opinion, that they're wasting their money or they're wasting their time. They might not think that they're wasting their money or wasting their time, but once again, that's the subjective nature of this part of language. You might think that your brother's wasting his time at university, and he might think that you're wasting your time working in a bank. All depends on your subjective opinion and his subjective opinion. You might think that your parents are wasting their money on antique furniture, and they might think that you're wasting your money on new cars. Again, it's subjective. But the fact that we can use these two verbs with both time and money is very handy. It's very useful. Now we know that we can use the verbs to spend and to waste with both money and time. And on that note, we come back to the restaurants, pubs and clubs. What normally happens in the UK is that a few months, yes, you heard me correctly, a few months before Christmas and New Year, restaurants, pubs and clubs start advertising their Christmas and New Year's Eve parties. You suddenly notice that there are posters in the pub windows telling you to book your place now, telling you to reserve a table now. And it gets worse. If the pub is a popular pub, and most of them are, the British do like a drink, then the pub landlord or landlady, the man or woman who runs the pub, who manages the pub, the landlord or landlady is the person who is in charge of the pub, the person who decides what happens, the person who is the boss of the pub. Many years ago, the landlord or landlady was also the owner of the pub. But now, these days in the UK, the situation has changed. A lot of pubs had money problems. They had financial trouble. They didn't have enough customers, they weren't making enough money, etc., etc. All of this was happening when I still lived in the UK, so it's a long time ago. But what happened was this. The breweries, the big companies that make beer, the companies that brew beer, they bought the pubs which were having difficulties, and now they own a lot of pubs. Now, in these pubs, the landlord or landlady isn't the big boss. The landlord or landlady doesn't control everything the way they used to. Now, the landlord or landlady lives in the pub, manages the pub, but the pub is owned by a brewery, and the big decisions are made by the brewery, not by the landlord or landlady. Now, when I say big decisions, I'm thinking of the sort of drinks you can get in the pub. If Monkey Toenail plc, the brewing company that makes Monkey Toenail beers, buys a pub, then we can be 100% sure, 100% certain that all of the beers on sale in this pub will be beers made by Monkey Toenail plc. Okay, this is logical. You don't want to buy a pub and then put a competitor's beer in the pub, do you? No, that's a good way to lose money. You want to make more money than your competitors, the people who are competing against you. But this explains why, if you go into a lot of pubs in the UK, well, in London and the southeast of England, you'll notice that a lot of the pubs look very similar. So similar that sometimes you don't know if you're in the Dog and Banana or the Cat and Meringue. Both pubs are owned by Monkey Toenail plc. Both look the same on the inside. They have the same chairs, the same tables, the same pool tables, the same bar, the same carpet, the same crisps, the same food, the same everything. And both have the same drinks for sale. Welcome to modern Britain. But what I wanted to tell you about was this. In the UK, it's not enough that the pubs want you to book a table for the end of December in October. It's not enough that they're encouraging you to plan further ahead than Lenin's 5 years plans. No, it gets worse. If the pub is a popular pub, then they make you pay to go to the party. Yes, once again, you heard me correctly. If the pub is a popular pub, then not only do you have to book a table months in advance, but you also have to pay the pub some money to go into the pub so that you can buy drinks all night. It's a win-win situation, but only for the pub, the landlord or landlady, and, well, of course, Monkey Toenail plc. So that's the situation in the UK. You have to book a place in a pub. You have to pay the pub landlord or landlady or the brewery that owns the pub for the possibility of going to the pub on Christmas Eve, for example, or on New Year's Eve. And then, when you get there, you have to pay for your drinks. So, yes, well, it's a great time of the year for the pubs and clubs. All right, and on that note, it's time for us to part for the day. But don't worry, don't fret, don't cry. We'll be back on your screens tomorrow, and we'll pick up with some more topics related to the new year. And, well, yes, we'll have to pick up the threads with the bench fields too, won't we? So I'll let you all rush off and get some more coffee or something. And tomorrow we'll meet back here, you on that side, me on this side. And we'll have another look at some English, okay? All right, well, have a great day. Enjoy yourselves, and we'll meet back here tomorrow, okay? All right, see you all later. Have fun, and don't forget, www.mediaclick.hu. That's 2 Ks. Well, it's actually 3, isn't it? K-L-I-K-K. You know the address anyway. See you later. Bye.